Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Today we're going to be going through the S30 240Z 260Z 280Z front brake system install with our front spindle. Here we got the factory sport model Akebono brakes, and we have the Wilwood Brake that we offer. We're going to be going and comparing both of them as well as installing both of them on the ins and outs of that. So the first thing that you're going to notice if you've got our Wilwood Brake kit, it's going to consist of quite a few items. First thing you're going to have is a pair of these rotors. Now these are the drilled option rotors. You can also get them in plain if you wanted to. Now these are completely vented and they're quite lightweight compared to the Akebonos. You'll notice that the Akebono brakes are also vented, but they are a lot thicker and they are a lot heavier than the Wilwoods as well. Now with the Wilwood Brake kit, you'll also get a pair of these rotor hats, and that will bolt onto the rotor, giving you a two-piece rotor design. The Akebono version runs a single hat rotor design. So real quick, we're going to go ahead and install the Akebono brake kits onto the front spindle, and we'll be back to go over the rest of the items on the Wilwoods. Alright, so now we got this massive 370Z rotor that we're going to put in over here onto our wheel bearings. Alright, next we're going to go ahead and install the Akebono calipers. Now you'll notice these aren't true Akebonos, these are knockoffs, but just for the sake of the video, we did add these onto here. So in the back, you're going to go ahead and bolt the Akebono calipers to the 370Z front spindle. And you can see here, this is the rough side. Now you will notice that the bleeder screws are on the top, and I know they're supposed to be on the bottom, but we just did this for the video so you customers can have a better understanding on how these bolt and the ease of use for it. The nice things about the Akebonos is because they're off-the-shelf items, it makes getting rotors and getting pads really easy at any local automotive store. And then we're going to go ahead and now install our Wilwood Brake kit. Now you can see a comparison in the size. They're really similar. The Akebonos do require a 17-inch wheel for the sport model brakes. The Wilwoods you can get away with 16. So let's jump to the bench and run our Wilwoods. All right, you're going to have a bunch of hardware here, and we're going to go through that right now. So first thing you're going to have is you're going to have the pair of rotor hats, the pair of rotors, you're going to have the pair of calipers, and you're going to have the pairs of the brake pads. It's going to be 4 brake pads total. Hardware wise, you're going to have 16 of these 5/16 bolts. Then you're going to have about 16 of these 5/16 washers. Next, you'll have 16 of these 5/16 split lock washers. And following that, you're going to have 8 of these 7/16 washers, followed by 4 of these 7/16 bolts. And to round that off, you're going to get 4 of these 7/16 nuts. For this install, you're going to need a ratchet, followed by a 1/2-inch wrench, a 1/2-inch socket, a 5/8 wrench, and a 5/8 socket. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to put the rotor hat face down, followed by the rotor on top of it. Notice the orientation of the rotor. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab the 5/16 bolt, followed by the 5/16 lock washer, followed by the 5/16 regular washer. We're going to hand tight them onto all 8 holes. So then you're going to grab your 1/2-inch socket and start torquing each one of those bolts down. You're going to torque in a star-like pattern. Each head of the bolt is going to be torqued to about 100 foot-pounds. So once you have the rotor hat and the rotor attached on both sides, you can go ahead and start assembling the caliper. The caliper install is really simple. We would have these spring clips on the side of the caliper, which makes installing the pads really simple. So first thing we're going to do is you're going to go ahead and take off the bolt and the spacer that goes on the top here. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to attach the pads, and you'll notice those spring clips on the side, which kind of hold the pad in place for the time being. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to reinstall the spacer and the bolt, and then the nut on the other side. So now that we are back onto the car, we're going to go ahead and install the rotor to the wheel bearing, and then we're going to secure that using either a lug nut or this little fancy tool that we got over here. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to grab your 7/16 bolt and put the 7/16 washer onto the bolt, sneak that through the front of the rotor hat like so. Same thing with the other side. Once those are through, you can go ahead and put the Wilwood caliper onto the spindle. Following the caliper, you're gonna go ahead and put another 7/16 washer on the other side. Now notice that we do supply an additional 7/16 washer in case you have to space your caliper slightly. However, in this case, we do not have to, so we're gonna go ahead and apply a 7/16 washer to the other side of the caliper, followed by the 7/16 nut, and go ahead and torque those down to 65 foot-pounds. So now let's go ahead and talk about the fancy footwork on these front spindles. Now these rear ears are going to be for the 370Z factory brakes, and these smaller ears are going to be for our Wilwood Brake kit. Now these 370Z front spindles are reversible, where you can flip them left to right or driver and passenger, depending on what brake kit you want to run. Oftentimes, especially for the S30, you're going to want to run the calipers behind the strut. So a few things to consider with our Wilwood Brake kit is you do require a 15 or 16-inch wheels. Now when it comes to 15s, there are some 15s that may not fit the large brakes. So I would highly recommend looking online and checking out our Wilwood template to see if it clears your wheels before you purchase our product and realize they don't clear. It's available for free online. Just select wheel fitment template and you'll be able to get directed to a one-to-one page of a PDF, which you can print out and cut out and just to confirm. The other thing to consider is going to be our brake kit only works currently with our 370Z front spindles. We do not make a version that fits the factory spindles. We did this because this fits our modern bolt-on style wheel bearing, where you just have a rotor that goes right over the wheel bearing rather than pulling the wheel bearing out, bolting the rotors and putting it back in. So these not fit the factory style spindles, and these are currently only available for the 5-lug setups, which come with the 370Z front spindles. And that's really all that's involved in the front brake system installation. If you have any questions, always give us a call or email us, and make sure to like and subscribe.